RajaRamMohanRoy, social reformer, entrepreneur, accomplished educator, linguist, women's rights activist, scholar, diplomat, philanthropist, politician, philosopher. How was he all these things? How did he take a stand? RajaRamMohanRoy is the father of Indian Renaissance because he attacked the caste system, took a stand against Sati Pratha in 1829, polygamy, and child marriage. He took a stand for the freedom of press, worked for India's progress, was an accomplished writer, advocated for widow remarriage, vehemently opposed a traditional education system, and women's rights to hold property during British India. He pushed for the abolition of Sati Pratha because he was devastated by his sister-in-law being forced into his brother's pyre. It was the last part of the 18th century. Foreigners invaded India again and again, and the country had suffered at their hands for centuries. The rule of the Muslims, which has lasted 800 years, was coming to an end. During their rule, India was filled with poverty and ignorance. The British who came to India for trade gradually conquered kingdoms. Many Indians did not even understand their own religion and culture. There were many castes and creeds. Ram Mohan Roy was born during that time. During those days, many cruel, barbaric practices were prevalent in India in the name of ancient religious traditions, subjecting women to many atrocities. Widely practiced in the province of Bengal those days, the most inhuman of them was the practice of forcibly burning widows alive with their husbands, called Sati Pratha. He studied the ancient scriptures and translated and published them so common people can understand as well. He argued with many religious leaders and supporters of Sati Pratha and showed how the practice is not as per the Hindu scriptures. He realized that he needed the support of the government to actually make people stop the practice, and he went to England to make a petition for the abolition of Sati Pratha. He pleaded in the British Assembly, and finally, the British government issued the law banning the practice of Sati Pratha. Raja Ram Mohan Roy is widely credited as the author of this law. Men in Bengal those days used to marry several women for monetary considerations or just for gratification of their own brutal inclinations, leaving many of them to the mercy of their own paternal relations. This entire practice is against the ancient Hindu law, and Raja Ram Mohan Roy took a stand against this practice. Another way women were exploited in those days was by denying any share of inheritance to women, incorrectly citing ancient writings as the basis. Ram Mohan Roy strove for women to have equal property rights. He also established colleges to help educate women and enable them to be independent. Ram Mohan Roy was proficient in many languages. At a young age, besides his mother tongue Bangla, he studied Persian and Arabic, these being required for higher positions in the courts of Mohammedan kings. He also learned Sanskrit, Hebrew, and English. As a scholar, he traveled widely and observed diverse cultures. He studied various theological works written in Sanskrit. He studied Islam at a madrasa in Patna. He composed many manuscripts and authored many books with commentaries on various Hindu writings in Bangla and English to educate common people about the essence of Hinduism and show that many of the orthodox inhuman practices prevalent in those times are not really as per the ancient scriptures. As a journalist, he launched Sambad Kaumudi, a Bengali weekly, followed by Mirat-ul-Akbar, a Persian weekly. He fought for freedom of press during British rule. Ram Mohan Roy realized that many of the bad social practices can be tackled with better education. He advocated the study of English, science, Western medicine, and technology. It was RajaRamMohanRoy who realized that India would be a backward country if its people did not learn English, mathematics, and science. He spent his own money and started a college to teach English and science. He started Veda Vidyalaya and a Hindu college, also known as Presidency College. He started Brahmo Samaj in 1828 to establish a platform to discuss the validity of religious traditions and to fight against cruel practices like sati pratha, child marriages, etc. Delhi King Akbar II bestowed the title of Raja on Ram Mohan and sent him as his emissary to England to plead for an increase in his pension. Ram Mohan went to London on a dual mission. He knew that the British parliamentarians had a more open mind than the local government officials, and then he used his opportunity to plead with the British Parliament to abolish sati pratha. Because of his untiring efforts, the government passed a law to ban sati pratha in 1829 in Bengal. Similar laws were later passed in other countries as well. Hindu philosophy was Raja Ram Mohan Roy's foundation. He read sacred scriptures and patterned his life after them. He respected everybody irrespective of their social status and worked for common good. Some short-term impacts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy were that in 1832, Orthodox Brahmins tried to revive sati pratha in Bengal, and again, Raja Ram Mohan Roy convinced the people to not bring it back as society had changed and widows weren't burnt forcibly anymore. Some long-term impacts are that widows weren't burned forcibly in India anymore, but there were still some cases in the province of Rajasthan in India of sati pratha occurring, causing them to pass a new Sati Prevention Act in 1987. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a zamindar, a moneylender, and worked as a revenue inspector under the British rule. He was blamed for doing great harm to Sanskrit, as since he replaced Sanskrit with English in schools, Sanskrit is now a dead language. Though he was prejudiced towards the British in his early life, later he was fascinated by their intelligence, manners, and traditions, but lived a true Hindu until his end. Raja Ram Mohan Roy may not be world famous, but he's certainly unique and famous in the history of India. He played a significant part in the birth of modern India. His writings provide an extraordinarily clear, though generally forgotten, view of a formative period of modern India, as well as Europe and North America. The story of his life and his writings should be known by everyone, from elementary schools to universities.